Hey, it's Dr. J, and guess what? I've got a special treat for you today. Every now and then, I come across somebody that becomes a great friend, but also is a master at what they do. And this man I'm going to be interviewing today is going to be sharing some golden nuggets with you about the profession of professional communication. Gee whiz, I met Scotty Bennett nearly a decade ago now, and he came into the National Sales Academy, a master at what he did. And we had a lot of fun through the training. He was someone I always went to because he was one of these people that, well, you always got to make friends with the monster first. But this man was absolutely masterful, but wanted to learn. And what he used to do is he's a massive implementer. Now, let me just give you a little background before he pops on. He was a state manager of Elders. Real estate. He's been in real estate for 20 years. Also had a number of offices with Ray White. And look, he doesn't like to spruik himself much, but he won many, many awards as being the leading sales professional. And then he moved. He's a professional. He said, well, I want to do something that really inspires me. And he moved to another business called Niagara. And when he hit Niagara, he hit the ground running. And guess what? He became one of their leading sales professionals in a very, very short time. So he's going to be telling a little bit of his story, but also he's going to be sharing with you some of the things that made him an expert, but also incredibly successful. So welcome, Scotty. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Yeah, hi, Steve. How are you?
Good. I know. I do want to tell everybody that you're a straight shooter and you always cut to the chase. You don't mix your words. So we're going to have a rough and tumble today, so I'm sure.
Yeah. Sorry if there's no filter.
Now, as I told everybody, you've been in sales a very long time, but also in business. So why don't you give us a little Reader's Digest version of your journey into sales?
Ever since I was a kid, some people, when they grow up, want to be doctors or lawyers or farmers or pilots. I wanted to be a salesman. My uncle was a very successful salesperson. He used to sell renewware, the old pots and pans. But so from as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a salesman like my uncle. And so I finished my HSC in Sydney. But before I did that, I sent letters to a whole heap of the biggest sales companies in Australia. And a number of them replied. And I was offered a job with Remington. That's the office machines. And so 9 months out. So I had 9 months of school knowing that I had a job to go to when I started the following year. And I did a sales cadetship with them following my finishing school and worked in that industry, so business machines and business equipment and accessories, etc., for probably 10 years. And then moved to real estate. So I sold real estate in Sydney for a few years with a couple of the larger independents. And then I moved to Queensland in '97. And I started with Ray White shortly after that as a salesperson. I did reasonably well and was offered a partnership in a new business about 8 months later. And so we opened the Ray White Redland Bay office in January 2002. And that did very well. I ended up selling that and didn't know what I wanted to do actually, and was offered a job with Elders as the state manager. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then ended up opening an Elders office as well. And then my marriage came to an end. I got divorced and I just didn't want to do real estate anymore. I've been doing it for 20 years. You're a slave to your phone. So I didn't know what I wanted to do when I came across Niagara. So it's a medical company where we help people. We sell medical equipment that actually helps people and it actually works. So there's no gimmicks or tricks. People will get a measurable result as soon as they start using it. I was a Niagara customer before I started with them. And so I have absolute belief in what I do. But if it was easy, everybody would do it. So, yeah, I've been with them 3.5 years now and been fortunate enough to share or spend some time with some of the very best people in the industry. And so I like to call myself a sponge. I actually like to learn and continuously get better. Am I at the top of my game at the moment? Absolutely not. The day I reckon I know everything, I'll be stopping and trying to find something else. So continually learning, continually getting better is my motto.
Well, look, you certainly walk the talk, I must say. Every time I mean, you were just talking to me just the other day. You said you had met a one of the new team at Niagara, and he was telling you some of the things that he was doing, and you were learning from the another person straight away. And you know, the guys don't know that, but you won significant amount of awards for being the number one salesperson. Now, you started with office equipment, then went into real estate. Now, you couldn't pick a more, let's say, straightforward, cutthroat in some case, a sales process. What were some of the things that you learnt by going through that school of, you know, going in out to office equipment and also real estate? What were some of the big rock things that you learnt?
So many things, or so many people think that you have to be a good talker to be a good salesperson. I categorically disagree. You've got two ears and one mouth. You need to use them in direct proportion. So you need to be a good listener. So many people are too busy thinking of what they're going to say next to worry about what the other person is actually saying to them. So they miss key things. People, if you give people the opportunity, they will share with you. And if you listen, again, ask them another question. So something I learnt from one of my favourite mentors a long time ago was A equals Q times 3. So whatever answer you get from somebody else, make sure you listen to it and then ask them 3 more questions based on that answer.
Okay, say that again, mate, because I want everyone to write this down. Guys, what Scott's going to be telling his stuff, he'll just roll out of his mouth. So just say that again, because that's gold.
A equals Q times 3. And what that means is whatever answer you get from somebody, ask them three more questions based on that answer. So whatever there is something in their answer, take it from them and give it back, quote unquote. That was something I learned many years ago. So if you keep asking questions, and okay, you know the answers to the questions. Okay, you know the answers that you want to get off someone, whether it's in business, in personal, in relationships, in whatever. You need to ask yourself, what questions do I have to ask to get those answers? And so if you don't get the answer that you want with the first question, just reword the question and ask it again.
So this is great, because the skill is the first question is they're a leader question, aren't they? They get the conversation happening, but the process that you know, we show people is called ALF: ask, listen, and then formulate your conversation. Allows you then to have a conversation instead of an interrogation. So you're talking about the answer to the first question, and then you're saying, well, ask a few questions about their answer. In other words, have a conversation with somebody
and listen to them. So it shows that you care and it shows that you're interested.
So with your journey through the office equipment, also in real estate, and also Niagara, and that's a big part of your life now, and you work incredibly hard there. And what are some of your two of your biggest wins you've had?
I came second in the company yesterday, which was only my second full year, so I was pretty pleased with that. I won a few other awards, which was good. So to win overall, to come second overall for the year was very good. But there was
that's for the whole of Australasia, isn't it? Australia and New Zealand, isn't that right?
Yeah. And there was a few other awards that I actually won. So that was really good. So the awards night was a fun night.
It sure was. The name Scott Bennett kept coming up on a regular basis. Guys, I was actually there. It was actually a magnificent evening, and I must say it was great to see Scott get some accolades. He doesn't sing them for himself very often, but he just gets there and does. The word do is something that I live by. Don't talk about it, just do it. And one of the things I'd like to ask you is what sort of training have you had, and what's your thoughts about training?
I train all. It's not just training. It's about learning as well. So training and learning I put in the same thing. Okay, so even early in my sales career, I had mentors in the office equipment industry that people had been doing it far longer. I don't look at someone as being better than me. They can be more experienced, and no one's better than anybody else. We all have the same traits that we can learn off people. And so I don't care if you've been with a company 5 minutes or 5 years. Everyone's got something to offer, so you can learn from everybody. And with real estate, I was fortunate enough to work with some of the very best in the industry, and so I learned a lot there. But with selling Niagara, it's totally different to any other sales. That we walk into somebody's home, Like if you're going to buy a car, for argument's sake, you might want to buy a Land Cruiser. So you go to a Land Cruiser or a Toyota dealership, you've got a fair idea of what the price is. You know you want it. So that all the salesperson there's got to do is do the right deal for you, or you've got to like him and you'll buy it. So that's totally different. Whereas with what we're doing, we're going into people's homes that some of them don't even think they need help or want help or want our product. And we've got to not convince them, but get them to agree or believe that they want help and that they need help and that this product works. I know it works. I use it myself, and I know you do too. So I spent some time in my early days with Noga with the very top guys and most experienced guys that have won every award between them than it was. I went there as a fly on the wall, so I wasn't paid to do that. I did it on my own time and I listened to them do it. Has it helped me down the track? Absolutely it has. I still spend time talking with them on the telephone and new people, like as I mentioned before, I've shared time with some of the new people where I've learned an absolute gold nugget from someone who's been in the business 5 minutes. So for the first 2 times I'll say, yep, that's yours, and I'll acknowledge that I got it off that person, but after the second or the third time it becomes mine. So it's called R&D, rip off and duplicate.
So it's always good to say, well, who am I hanging out with? And we always say, and then you say it too, the 5 to 10 people you hang out with or speak to more often, you normally will start to emulate. So if you're hanging around with people that are doing good things, you'll probably all rub off, and then you hear it a few times, and then you can call it your own.
Absolutely.
Now, given that the selling is professional communication, and really it's a life skill. Everyone talks about selling as far as, oh, you got to sell something, but it could be just communicating with your family, with a buddy. It's getting a decision. That's all it really is, having a conversation which has a positive outcome for both parties. So I like to do do's and don'ts. Now, you've had a lot of experience, mate, so I'd love to start with the do's. What are 2 things that people must do if they want to be a professional communicator and have some success? So 2 do's and why?
One of the most important things is to prospect. So it doesn't matter whatever industry you're in, you need to be talking with people. And so prospecting, and a lot of people prospect when they first start in a sales industry, and then they get busy and they stop prospecting and they wonder why their results look like Dolly Parton. They go up and down. It's like it has to become a habit. All right, so that if you want to stay busy, you've got to keep prospecting. And okay, either you do it yourself or you pay somebody to do it for you.
What's your definition of prospecting? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, what's prospecting?" Some of the new guys.
Prospecting is an activity that gives you the opportunity to sit in front of a person and get a result. So whether it's a referral or it doesn't matter if you don't get a sale from the result of that prospecting, you might get a referral or 2 referrals or an opportunity to present your product at somewhere where it will be of benefit. And so again, like you said before, communicating, if you listen and ask questions.
So what percentage of our time or a salesperson should be spent in prospecting?
Well, I think it depends on the industry and how busy you are. That okay, you work out how much money you want to earn and then work backwards from there. That you need to know your numbers. So if you're in real estate, for argument's sake, you need to know, and you know what you want to work, what you want to earn. You need to know what's your average sale price, what's your average commission rate, what's your average list to sales ratio, what's your average appraisal to list ratio. And so you can work out how much prospecting you actually have to do to get that amount of appraisals, to get that amount of listings, to get that amount of sales, to get that amount of commission. I asked somebody a year or 2 ago about some goals, and I said, what are your goals? And he said, I want to pay off my debt. And I said, do you know how much your debt is? He said, yeah. I said, do you know how much money you've got to earn to pay off that debt? And he didn't know. So you've got to be specific that you can work that back to how many demonstrations he has to do to earn that amount of money. So a goal without a plan is a dream.
Fair call. So prospecting, you got to make sure that the prospecting is dovetailed with knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
So how many people have I got to talk to that are going to be positive, that become, let's say, a possibility for a referral or a lead. And then we got to say, well, how do we get that lead to become an appointment show? And then what your dem or presentation to close percentage. So those simple KPIs go hand in hand with prospecting. Okay, I totally agree. I mean, it's prospect or die. I mean, if you're not talking to people, you're not selling anything or helping anybody move forward. What's another do?
Listen. Always listen. If they're saying something to you, let them finish saying it. And again, ask them a question based on their answer. Ask them another question. So always listen. And the other thing, never make a decision on behalf of someone else or an assumption. You don't know. So whether it's real estate or office equipment or anything, you don't know what happened at that person's kitchen table last night, that you have no idea of what their circumstances are. And so things change. You may be dealing with a person over a period of time, and things will have changed or may have changed for that person. That's going to mean that they're going to make a totally different decision to what they would have made yesterday. So always listen and always ask questions.
I was watching a movie just the other day. It's called The Accountant. And I remember the guy got into the car and he was wanting to have a conversation with this fellow about something that he'd done that wasn't that great. So when he got in the car, he shut the door and he started talking to this guy, and the guy started to interrupt him. So I give him a little bit of a clip and says, hey, you know, when someone starts to talk, when someone else is talking, they just think that what they have to say is more important. So as a sales professional, someone starts to talk, sit down and listen, take some notes and feed it back. I think that's absolute. It sounds simple, but some salespeople just want to butt in. And I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on the money. So now we've got the do's. Now we're going to have the don'ts. What are 2 don'ts and why?
Don't stop prospecting. So you'll get busy, but if you stop prospecting, you won't be busy for too long. So I think that's a really big one. You've always got to be looking for new opportunities. So don't ever stop prospecting, and whether it's door knocking or networking or going to an event or a club or whatever, it's just ask questions and be mindful. You'll notice things like in our industry, we help people with aches and pains. So if somebody's limping, I work for a medical company. Would you like help with that? So how long has that been giving you grief for? What's your doctor doing for you? Always ask questions. And the people that we deal with have been around the block more than what we have. So you don't need to go in there and be pushy. It's ridiculous. Like in so many industries, you've got so many salespeople that it's all about the dollar. That they'll push and they'll push and they'll push. Your stand-up rate ends up not being real good if you do that. One sale doesn't change your life. So always remember that okay, if you make it a good experience for someone, whether they buy or they don't, that will come back to you. All right. So that they may have a friend or a family member that whatever you're selling or whatever you're peddling, whatever it may be, it will help them. And if you've made it a good experience for them, they're quite happy to share that information with you. So you'll find you'll often get a lot of referrals when you're not pushy. So,
all right. So don't stop prospecting and making sure you're creating the experience. So what's another don't?
Another don't. I've always focused on the do's rather than on the don'ts. It's like keep doing this, keep learning. So never ever walk away from a negative person. Run. Right? If you've got negative people around you or you're working with negative people, run away.
Surround yourself with the right ones. Okay, I got it loud and clear. Now, you've got so many skills up your sleeve and so forth. It's just the way you talk. I'd love you to share if you've got something that just an example of some of the things that have worked, or just one thing that works really well for you when you're in a conversation or in a close or any part of the sale. What could you share with some of the listeners of a specific skill or a technique that you use that works really, really well?
Right. I look at every negotiation or conversation with or potential sale as a hallway, and there's a whole heap of doors open on the way down the hallway. My job is to get to the other end of that hallway and shut all the doors on the way. So if there's objections, you have to isolate them. Okay, so isolate the objections so you can overcome the objection. So if somebody says, I want to think about it. So if it was $1, would you want to think about it? No. So it's not about wanting to think about it. It's about the money then, isn't it? So again, it's very easy to isolate an objection just by asking questions. But again, the whole idea is to close all the doors on the way down, and they've got to take ownership for it. So if you ask a question, and don't talk, but you've got to let them talk first. Whoever talks first owns whatever it is that you're selling. So many salespeople feel awkward, or if there's an awkward silence. If I ask somebody a question, there's no way I'd open my mouth until they answer it. But again, to keep asking questions, use tie downs. Finish every statement you make with a tie down, isn't it? Couldn't it? Wouldn't it? Shouldn't it? Doesn't it? It's getting agreement. You can get agreement with people with a yes and or a no. That if someone says no to you, if you ask the right question, it's getting an agreement. In real estate, you're not selling your house unless I get you the price you want, are you? No, that's an agreement. Okay, so many people feel that they have to discount their product or their fees. Okay, they only do that because they haven't built enough value in it. But when a real estate agent, the owner says, I want you to do it for 2%. And say, well, I'm actually working for nothing until I get you the price that you're looking for. So if you don't get the price that you'd like, I'm working for free. Would you agree with that? Yes. You're not selling unless I get you that price, are you? No, that's another agreement. So my fee becomes irrelevant. Right? My fee for getting you that price that you want is this. Okay, and unless you get it, I'm working for free. So you're actually getting rid of the actual, people say, well, you negotiate your commission. I'd love to. Negotiate means go up. Discount means go down.
So what you're doing there is actually creating a value equation. So you're getting the elephant in the room out early. You say, well, look, you want, you're not going to sell the house unless you get the price you want, are you? And he goes, no. Okay. So, and then you're actually getting more agreements along the way. So if I don't sell the house, I'm working for free, aren't I? And all of a sudden they're getting agreements. And once they get agreements, and by the way, you don't want to do that, do you? No, a no can be an agreement. It doesn't have to be yes or a no. So using tie downs is a great way of doing that. So, and you've mastered, but I really love what you said earlier for the objection that a lot of people get, which is, I want to think about it. What you did is isolate the objection, and you said if the investment was just $1, would there be a problem? They go, no. So all of a sudden you say, well, it is a price objection. So all of a sudden, as you said, it's value. So guys, listen to what Scotty's saying. It's actually, it's part of his conversation, but what he's telling you is the simple things done well will make you a very, very good communicator, which means that at the end of the day, the person says yes. A yes at the end can have a whole lot of yeses and nos all the way through the conversation. Now, what sort of courses have you done and the sort of things that you've learned that have really made a big difference to your learning?
I've been fortunate enough to spend time with some people at the top of a lot of industries, whether it's through conferences and seminars and things where there's been keynote speakers. I was blown away at the first of your courses that I did, and then I really loved the train the trainer one. That was fun. Doing a presentation on hair gel was one of my least fond memories. But some of the again, the top people, I've been in companies that have had conferences with the people at the top of their game, not even relative to the industry, but what you can take from people in any industry, where the people have done the hard yards and have the belief, and they get up on stage and share information. Whether it's sports, for someone at the top of their game, like Trevor Hendy was a keynote speaker at our last convention, and his story was amazing. You can learn from anybody, and I don't care if they're at the top of their game or they're new in an industry. That if you listen to them and give them the opportunity to share with you, you'll pick up things all over the place. But you and I speak most weeks and have done for 15 years. Like, what's really good about that is you keep me accountable. I like to keep myself accountable, but I know I've got you looking over my shoulder making sure I'm accountable.
Well, we always have that really robust, nice conversations, and it's really great banter. But also, it's always good to actually put it on the table and see what changes. And you've always been wanting to grow, but also I learn from you as too, mate. So we have those conversations, and things come up, and they say, "Wow, that was great," and I'll write it down. So I must say thank you to you as well, my friend. We all learn, and I think in everything that we do, there are lessons. When we fail, there are lessons. Say, what did I learn? When you win, have a big sale or whatever the case may be, there's a lesson. There's a lesson to be learned in everything we do. And I think some of the best lessons, and this, I know it's a little bit blunt, but are our failures. Some of the things that we have done wrong that sort of gives us a big wake-up call and created a challenge and so forth, we sometimes learn more from making the mistake than from actually having tons of success. So we all have done them. I know I've done stacks of them. So I'd love to know what's let's say a challenge or a mistake you made that taught you a big lesson.
If you come out of a meeting without the result that you want, don't ask yourself what you did wrong. Ask yourself what you could have done better or differently. All right? That always remember you're one demonstration away from your next sale. So if you're going into your next one, don't take anything bad from your last one. So ask yourself what you could have done better in the last one to perhaps get a different outcome, and take that into your next one.
When you actually find that out, I find that, and I'd just love to get your feedback, when you actually find that out, I could have done that better or differently. What I like to do is I like to say, I go to somebody who's at the top of the game, or someone that would maybe be just a punter, and say, hey, this is my experience that I've just had. This is what the outcome would be. This is how I would change it. What do you think? And just get some feedback from another human being, because if we just leave it in here and make that decision, sometimes we'll just go back to our rubber band. So I like to get feedback from people, someone that I know, like, and trust, that can actually give you candid feedback, not just a negative flower, but someone that can say, hey, that would work better. This is what I would do. What's your thoughts on that?
I've often been asked by people whether they're new or less experienced than me in all industries, and they'll say that they had a particular problem. And my question to them is, what do you think I would have done? So rather than me tell them what I've done, I say, what do you think I would have done, or what do you think Steve would have done? Well, and they'll normally tell you. Okay, so they know themselves what they didn't do, or what another person with more experience would have done. But if you actually ask them what I would have done, they'll normally tell you and say, well, there's your answer. Why don't you try that?
Terrific. So I think this is gold, guys. Let's listen to this. You go to somebody, say, oh, look, I did this, and, what do you think you would have done? I think of doing that. And then they get that person to say, what do you think Scott would have done? Or what do you think John would have done? And say, well, I don't know. When they say, I don't know, well, yes. And remember, you'll start thinking about other ways of doing things. And when it comes out of your mouth, it's usually something you already know, or you could hybrid so you can actually implement it. But when someone tells you to do stuff and you don't have the neural pathway, sometimes that can be, a little bit off-putting because it's not in your ethos. So this is great feedback. What do you think Johnny would do, who's the top of the game? Oh, he'd probably have done this. Explain that to me. All of a sudden, it's coming out of your mouth, so it's actually you own it. So when you say it, it's true. So I think that is great advice, mate. Thank you. Now, we're coming to the end of our chit chat, and I want to make sure that all of our newbies and our oldies take away something that they do to make their sales career a little bit more successful from listening to your wisdom. So, what would be one big rock thing? If someone wants to increase their sales, or they've had a bad month or two, or a rookie that's coming in there, other than the couple of things of the do's and don'ts, what's a big rock thing that you say people must do?
Who would like the perfect prospect? Everyone, whether it's in life, business, relationships, whatever else it is. Only you know what that person needs to say to you to become the perfect prospect. So when you're sitting in front of somebody, work out what that person needs to say to you to become the perfect prospect. As soon as you know the answer to that, ask yourself this. So step one is, what does this person have to say to be the perfect prospect? Step two, what questions do I have to ask that person to get them to say those things? And step 3 is ask those questions.
So say that again so that people can write it down. Guys, get the pen out and write this stuff down. Don't just listen. Writing, you'll actually retain it. So one more time, mate.
Perfect prospect, again, whether it's in life, business, relationships, sales, anything. Everyone wants the perfect prospect. So if you want the perfect prospect, ask yourself, what does this person have to say to be the perfect prospect? Ask yourself, what questions do I need to ask that person to get them to say those things? And then just ask those questions and listen to what they have to say.
Mate, it's always good listening to someone that's doing what everyone else wants to do. You're living the dream. You're seeing people on a day-to-day basis. You're prospecting. You know your numbers, and you're continually learning. And as a sales professional, a professional communicator, it's the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work in the world. So, in closing, what would be advice to all the salespeople and managers and owners of businesses out there as far as their sales? So what advice would you give them as a parting sort of a little bit of wisdom from you?
At the end of the day, do a little bit more prospecting or more networking, or do one more demonstration. Okay, it's 9 to 5, not 9 to 5. It's like, if a job's worth doing, a lot of people say if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. I'd also say if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing now.
So do a little bit more. So if you've got to make 10 calls, make 12. If you've got to see one person today, try to see 2, and make sure that we're continually raising the bar. And I think that's a wise thing to finish on, because I find that sometimes in sales, when we have been doing it for a while, every salesperson cuts the corners. And it is a numbers game. We've got to know our percentages. We've got to know how many dems we need to do, and we need to know how many leads we create. But if you're not doing more, you're not going to get more. Now, if you do more and your percentages go up, you're still going to make more. And if you do less, you're going to rely on just having to have a high closing rate and show rate. And we know that's not realistic. So I think that's great advice to make sure that people are doing more. And I believe in this marketplace now, as we progressively get a more congested marketplace, if we don't start doing things, do more and do it smarter and keep sharpening our axe, if you're not going forward, you're going back. There's no in between. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite words is next. Yeah. I had actually, that was the guy that won rookie, Jazz, won rookie last year for Niagara. He actually said to me, how do I cope with when you are in a rough patch where you get continual results that you don't want to do? And he said, don't you dare say next. And I said, next. It's like, do another demo. You're one demo from your next sale. So next, always be prepared to go one more, do another one, and finish on a positive.
So do a bit more, dust yourself off, find out what you did wrong, do a little bit of practice, drill, rehearse. We all I think a bit of practice goes a long way, and make sure that you keep going forward. If you stop moving, it's like you're dead like a grey nurse shark. Well, mate, look, thanks so much for joining us today. I've been trying to get you to do an interview for a very long time, and you're always busy, and we're missing each other. And it's just terrific to actually hear you chatting about it and talking about something that's dear to both of our hearts. Professional communication is a great career, great job. It's something that you can help a lot of people, but a lot of people are scared, and only 5 to 10% of the sales professionals actually make it. And I think you started with something that was really important. You wanted to be a professional sales professional. You wanted to be a salesperson, a professional communicator that makes a difference. And if there's that desire to continually learn and implement, you're going to have success. So thanks so much for joining us today, mate. And I'm sure that we'll be talking in the next few days anyway.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve. Have an awesome weekend.
Terrific. All right, gang. What are 3 things you learned from Scott? What are you going to put into place? Action is what gets things done. Doing stuff. What did you learn from Scott? Was it about prospecting? Was it about your numbers? About what's next, using tie downs? Scrub through this again and have a listen to what he was talking about. This is a man that lives and breathes sales, has a great lifestyle, and he helps a lot of people. Action is everything. What are you going to implement? Pop it in the comments down below and tell us what you're going to do or what you've done. And I'm sure Scotty and I'd like to hear about it. All right, gang. I'm Dr. J. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.